Yes, as the darkness aficionado, as aficionado, aficionado. No.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tastes Like Music. Jason, Joe, and Crams are here. January part 5, it feels like. We do a whole month of artists selected by Joe, and we follow it up with another Joe band. We're talking about The Darkness today.
It was my idea. I don't know why I'm just feeding you these. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I was like, hey, we could probably do The Darkness. They have a short discography. Motorheart, I listened to, was all right. Now here we are.
Here we are. So The Darkness are a British rock band from the early aughts, kind of revived, I don't know, classic rock, kind of melded with a little glamminess and hard rock, maybe a pinch of hair metal in there. I don't know. There's a lot going on, but a little bit on the campy side. So I'm sure opinions will be extremely divided on this, depending on how you feel about that sort of thing in your music. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least. They've got 7 studio albums for us to rank. What was your familiarity like going into the week?
Joe is the resident Darkness aficionado. I'm sure he's heard most of them, but I only knew the first 2. And, after the big hiatus or whatever, wasn't really that interested. That first album was friggin' everywhere. That was like maybe me or Joe's junior or senior year of high school, and everyone was kind of covering Believe. We got to get a girl singer so we can do Believe in a Thing Called Love. And so I never really cared much after that. I mean, I was aware they were releasing albums, but viewers of the channel will know that I did listen to Motorheart last year, and they even win a friggin' award for me for my biggest surprise. I was ready to hate that album, and I actually really liked it, which probably played into me being like, I might as well just do The Darkness now, while my enthusiasm levels will probably never be higher for it. So yeah, just the first 2 in Motorheart, and then everything else was a brand new listen for me this week.
As the darkness aficionado, as Cramser so succinctly put it, I like The Darkness. I think most people could probably tell from my, musical choices on this channel. Familiar with all of them, although I never totally listened to Easter is Canceled. I really liked them, in the beginning, after Permission to Land, One Way Ticket to Hell and Back. And then once they kind of came back, I kind of moved on in my life from that kind of music, but I still like it a lot, still enjoy their style. My band plays I Believe in a Thing Called Love, so I'm reminded of my love for The Darkness on, weekly.
So my brother had the first 2 on CD, so I got pretty familiar with those, knew those well. I think I listened to Hotcakes probably once when it came out, and I listened to and reviewed Motorheart for the channel a couple months ago. So I know those 4. Don't know that kind of middle chunk, though, those 3 between those. So those were new. Who's kicking us off?
Unless y'all object. My number, there are 7 albums, no real discrepancies. What you see is what you get, 7 albums. And I don't really have any idea what the general popular critical consensus is for these rankings. I would guess Permission to Land is considered the best. But let's get right into it. My number 7 at a very bad 2 stars is going to be Pinewood Smile. This came out in 2017. Opener, super poppy, power poppy, happy, jubilant, but somehow not as fun as like the other stuff. It's kind of losing the 80s-ness of it for me. The hard rock, not enough guitar crunch. On this album, the drums are much louder and more overwhelming than any other album, which I don't really care for. And I'm usually the proponent to enjoy a good overbearing drum sound. Super turbulent riffing on here, but a bit boring. I don't know what it is. It seemed to have lost their flavor or character, or maybe everything's just too familiar to something that's on a previous album. Things sounding more like a bluesy or Black Crowes, like Buck Cherry kind of rock record, not quite the guitar rock I want from them when they're kind of just doubling down on hard rock, sweet, funny, humorous, like 80s kind of guitar rock ballads. Power pop, I really think, is their like strength. You threw out all those things you said at the beginning, Jason, are correct. But I think really at the heart, they run kind of like a power rock mystique and system here. Sometimes the jokiness bothers me on this record. Like, we were never going to stop shitting out Solid Gold. I will say that most of the humor throughout their catalog lands with me pretty well. I think they kind of run that fine line perfectly where they're not taking themselves too seriously, but for some reason that does not work for me. There's also kind of like a hint of like big bro sing-along metal on here and some heavier riffs like on Southern Trains, but there's not much more under the surface, even in the humor and the fun department. Like it's really goofy and aware of themselves, but it's not as fun. I don't know. It's hard for me to pinpoint why I dislike this one. I know it's their shtick, but there's a little too much here. Like, they're not taking themselves seriously enough. They're just like, hey, we're the fun joke band and here are our tunes this time. It's like, yeah, you can be that, but you still got to take yourself seriously in that arena. I Wish I Was in Heaven is okay. Japanese Prisoner of Love I didn't really like. Happiness I didn't like. The second half has like these bad like pop punk vibes I'm not really down with, especially in the way he's singing, so far removed from like the fun glammy style he often has. And then his falsetto throughout the catalog is usually pretty good, but I think on Stampede of Love it sounds really bad. I think it's just the worst vocal and lyrical album they've got. 2 stars for me, number 7, Pinewood Smile. It gets better though.
All right, I'll go next. I really wanted to come on here and give the same speech that Cram gave in the Blur video where he said, I've got this at 3 stars, which means every record is good and you should check all of them out, because I came real close to being able to do that, but I think this one falls just on the other side of that line. At 2.5 stars, I've got Pinewood Smile. So Cram and I on the same page as far as the worst. This is the first record that has Rufus Taylor on drums, which is Roger Taylor's son from Queen. I think it's easily their worst sounding record. It's a little dark and muddy sounding compared to their other records in their catalog. It doesn't quite shimmer the way the others do. The first 2 tracks, All the Pretty Girls and Buccaneers of the Hispaniola, not super keen on those songs. I don't find them that memorable. The tracks on this record kind of beat around the bush a little too much. Like you'll have like this intro riff, and then there'll be a verse, and then there'll be like another new riff that you haven't heard yet. And it's like, can we just get to the hook? Or like, what are we doing here? Like, can we get to the fun part? And I think Cram nailed it when he said it's not as fun as the other records. I feel like they've kind of honed in on an audience for their music that is more of just like the people that are hungry for heavy rock and really miss heavy rock. And they're kind of playing to that audience, where in the past, I feel like they had a broader appeal, where if you were a music fan, you could kind of hear an array of influences in their sound. And you could kind of like pick out, oh, they're doing Queen here, they're doing Cheap Trick here, they're doing this. And there was a lot more interesting stuff happening. And you could also kind of tell that they were taking the piss out of rock machismo a lot of the time. So here, without it being as fun, I don't think the humor lands as well. It feels, I don't know, a little off. It's like they're almost sort of morphing, not intentionally, obviously, but they're kind of morphing into what they were kind of poking fun at to begin with. I mean, they're obviously still joking, but I don't think the jokes land as well here. Things have just kind of flattened out a bit. It's not all bad, though. I like Solid Gold. I think it's probably the catchiest song on the record. I also like I Wish I Was in Heaven a good bit. So there's some good stuff. It's fine, but 2.5 stars. Pinewood Smile.
Interesting. Very interesting. I agree with everything you said, except for I think you'd be talking about my bottom, Last of Our Kind from 2015. For me, this was produced by Dan Hawkins, the rhythm guitarist. it sounds a little muddy to me. It sounds not quite as shimmering. I thought they corrected some of that on Pinewood Smile. And on this, Last of Our Kind is where I feel like they're trying a little too hard. Like Barbarian kind of just feels like Black Shuck, but about barbarians. Open Fire just feels a little too much to me. Like, I know it's hard to be like too much for the darkness, but it's got like this cult Def Leppard vibe that, like, it sounds cool on on paper, but it feels like a touch too much for me. And I think on this album they kind of lose some of that humor and that cheekiness, and they're just trying a little bit too hard sometimes, especially on something like Mudslide, where like the double entendres are just too much. And I think it just sounds a little too generic, except for Mighty Wings. Mighty Wings rules. They made an entire album of Mighty Wings. It'd be great. It'd be one of my favorite albums. But it just, I don't know, it doesn't quite work for me. And I know that may be controversial because I see a lot of people talking about this one that's like a return to form, blah, blah, blah. So looks like you guys probably have it a lot higher, but I remember listening to it in 2015 and being really disappointed. I actually brought it up a little bit from there. It's 3 stars for me, but it's probably the one that I come back to the least. So 3 stars, still okay, but for me, it's 3 stars isn't very good.
So Jason said that he wanted my speech ready for this week from Blur, and if you guys haven't watched the Blur episode, go check that out as well after this one. And I do kind of have the same speech. I know I was kind of hinting that I hated this week, but I really didn't. And my speech starts now. Number 6, I've got Hotcakes, and I have it at 3 stars. Record scratch. Had it at 3 stars until Street Spirit came out. What a friggin' joke. That is the worst song. I mean, talking about if we ever did a tournament for the worst covers of all time, there's no business covering this deeply depressing like song. It is the difference between knowing a song and knowing the notes, and this is just an abomination. So I had it at 3, but I took it to 2.5 for the worst thing that I've ever experienced in my life. And yeah, so, but first song, Every Inch of You, it's not, this one is too much for me. I don't think, I get that it's, it's not cute or funny. It's a little too stupid and gross for me. I think they went a little too far on that one. Nothing's Gonna Stop Us is okay. Really dig trying to capture the first record. And obviously a big Queen ripoff influence in the chorus, which is cool. But a lot of the stuff on Hotcakes has some really good, simple, catchy, crunching guitar chord songs. There's a little bit less production and ambition than the second album. Keep Me Hanging On is okay. Solo's really good, though. And the main thing I've taken away is how good Hawkins is as a guitarist. I don't know many people that can play as flashy as he does without almost ever ruining a song or overpowering a song. I think he walks the line almost perfectly on every friggin' song. I think it's tremendous. Always knows when to come in and come out, do his runs, do whatever he's doing, and it always sounds great. And it's also done in like the joyous humor of the band. Like it never misses the tone of the song. Really, really awesome stuff. Because of the Desire to Go Back is great. Living Each Day Blind, I wasn't crazy about. A lot of it is just a little bit basic compared to the first 2 albums, although I did love She's Just a Girl, Eddie. That just has great spirit behind it. Amazing solo, cool drum sound on that. It's just a little bit predictable throughout, even though it's enjoyable to get like above 3 stars, which is what this album is, minus Street Spirit. And then, yeah, just the cover of Street Spirit towards the end. And it's not even just like I'm a diehard radio enthusiast. Like, I know Yellow Card does High and Dry, and that offends me much less than this version of Street Spirit. So I can't stand it. It's a decent album. 2.5 stars. Hotcakes, number 6.
I've never heard Yellow Card do High and Dry, but I cannot imagine it's better than The Darkness doing Street Spirit.
I did not say it was better. I said it was less offensive.
All right. Fair enough. My number 6 is Easter is Canceled from 2019. Lyrically, I think Rock and Roll Deserves to Die is a great opener. I think it really works for what they're doing. This record has a really big, heavy rock sound. And I think of all of their records, it probably has the most modern sounding production. It's got guitar tones that, wouldn't be out of place on modern rock radio. Kind of reminds me a little of the Foo Fighters' How Can I Lose Your Love? The verse to that song actually sounds a little bit like a Foo Fighters song. Live Till I Die is pretty great. I love Deck Chair. I think it's absolutely amazing. Justin's doing this amazing take on Freddie Mercury, but it's so good. Like normally you hear someone attempt to do a Freddie Mercury and they'll go for the power and they'll go for the high notes, but he's keeping it pretty mellow here. He's doing like a later period Freddie Mercury ballad type of voice, kind of like The Show Must Go On. And he is nailing all the subtle nuances of it. It is so good. And he's singing about deck chairs while doing it. It is just hilarious. And I think it's a great song. I also think this record has stronger melodies than the previous two. The lyrics are really over the top. I got a few chuckles out of me, but my main complaint with this record is the production, and it's got kind of a boring mainstream rock sound, basically that you would hear on modern rock radio ever since the 2000s, those heavy guitars, and those aren't doing a whole lot for me here. So 3 stars. There's some good stuff here for sure. Not a bad album at all, just not my cup of tea when it comes to the sound of it.
Dookie, that is my number 6. Easter is Canceled, which that's a really bizarre name for an album. They do some weird, like some of these things I just don't quite get from The Darkness. It's like they're either they're probably just like trying too hard in a lot of these cases. Like they just toned it down like just a teeny bit sometimes. I think it would work better. This one, I think it's pretty good. It's not that different than kind of any of their 3 albums that they released after they kind of came back, the 3 previous ones. I do love Deck Chair. The falsetto, the Freddie Mercury aping is just pretty much perfect. The title track is pretty good. Rock and Roll Deserves to Die is pretty great. Again, you have like a song like Choke on it. It's kind of just like a little tiresome with the juvenile humor. Like sometimes it really works. And then sometimes they get a little too much. Love the shredding on We Are the Guitar Men, Heavy Metal Lover, In Another Life are both good, but it feels like with The Darkness, I think there's always like that delicate balance between like going into parody and like being like a really good, like old school, Queen, AC/DC aping rock band. And on this one, I just feel like the needle is pointing a little too much towards parody. And I think, they walk that line so well in the first couple albums that, I don't know, I think they kind of ran out of ideas and they'd sort of reset with Motorheart, the one that comes after this. But at this point, I think they're just kind of in that same cycle where they're just kind of repeating themselves, recycling old ideas. So it's a good album. Like I like listening to it, but I got a 3.5 stars. So it's good, but it's not one I'm going to really come back to because I don't think it really adds too much to their canon that, hasn't already been done. So it's fine. 3.5 stars.
Okay. My number 5, I've got, and I am up to an official 3 stars now, not even a awful Radiohead cover could bring this one down. 3 stars. I like it. I'm going with One Way Ticket to Hell and Back. Opens with One Way Tickets, really cool pan flute on there, Karate Kid Part 2 style. I know that makes Joe happy. I think compared to the debut, they kind of toned down the style and the fun a little bit more. I think there's a little bit more nuance here in the dressing, which I kind of admire. think Knockers is cool. Love the slide guitar part. I'd say more 80s sounds on this album than on the first one, but maybe a little less 80s swagger, if that makes sense. I think Dinner Lady Arms is a great example of that. I think Hazel Eyes is really cool. Great bass. I like when he sounds like Robert Smith, which is, as a vocalist, I think it's really cool that he's always himself, but, you know, kind of emulates other things and is always, you know, not at all pretentious, just kind of does, you know, it invokes all these other famous, you know, obvious influences, and it works. Love the strings and Girlfriend, really sweet. What a cool idea for a song, and they nailed the studio work on it. Blind Man, a lot of Queen vibes. It's not bad. I think I like this album. Gave it 3 stars. I think the trouble I have kind of evaluating it within the context of their discography is it really seems like an album to build off from, and they never really got that chance to get the motor going. You know, it seems like they're in the middle of feeling things out. You know, they caught fire with the debut. Now they're kind of figuring out what they want to be. They're not quite there. It's definitely an enjoyable listen. It sounds more grown up than the first. You know, the first is a little bit more like wild and fun and free spirited, and this one's a little bit more mature and focused. Still not quite there. It's like budding into something that they probably, you know, if they could have just put out 3 more records in like another 5 or 6 year span, would have been interesting to see what they turned into. But yeah, I think One Way Ticket to Hell and Back, good album, a lot of really good songs, 3 stars. Number 5.
All right, my number 5 is Last of Our Kind, 2015. This is the only Darkness record with Emily Dolan Davies on drums. She was replaced shortly after the recording by Rufus Taylor. And my review of this record is extremely similar to my review of Pinewood Smile. I think it's just kind of going maybe a little too hard in the direction of like focusing on riffs and heaviness and not enough on melody and fun. But with that said, I do like this record better. I think it has better songs, it has some better melodies, and it definitely sounds better. So it's enough to get it up to 3 stars, but this is really the record where that issue kind of started for them, where the music wasn't conveying the fun in the lyrics. So there was maybe like a slight disconnect. In the past, you could always tell that, you know, Justin had his tongue firmly planted in Cheek, and even though here his lyrics and vocal approach might not really have changed much, I just, like I said before, I don't think the jokes land quite as well. But I think the softer songs here work pretty well. Sarah Oh Sarah and Hammer and Tongs, which I think is very funny, both work, and I like those songs a lot. I also like Open Fire, which has a very The Cult-esque sounding guitar riff, which is very cool. The opener, Barbarians, a pretty decent rocker. So good stuff. I don't think it's quite, you know, compares to their early records, which I think are pretty great. 3 stars.
All right, my number 5 is going to be Pinewood Smile. And I think it suffers from the same problems that the other ones around this period after they came back. The humor, it works in some cases, it misses in some cases, and to me, it just always kind of sounds like they're trying too hard to revive like the glory days of 2003. You know, all the pretty girls, Buccaneers of Hispaniola, Solid Gold, like they all have sort of like comedic kind of overtones, and that's fine, and I think it works sometimes, but I think they laid on a little too thick in this album. That being said, I do think there's some good variety to this one. I think the production's better than on Last of Our Kind, and I think the guitar work is really good. A lot of great leads, a lot of great solos. Stampede of Love, I liked a lot, kind of like a duet, acoustic ballad at the beginning, and then it gets into this big rocker with slide guitar. I think it's pretty cool. A lot of the usual suspects, Queen, AC/DC. So it's not too dissimilar from what they did before. And it just I don't know, maybe sounds like they're in a bit of a rut again after they came back. They really didn't find like a different sound. They kind of just like, okay, let's go back to the debut and take things sort of, back to basics a little bit. And it just seems like they followed that pattern a little too long. So I have it 3.5 stars. It's pretty interchangeable with, Easter is Canceled and Last of Our Kind and Hotcakes, but I don't know. I just like this one a little bit better, but a little more variety this time. So it's fine. 3.5 stars.
All right. My number 4, still at 3 stars. Good album. I've got Permission to Land. I think Black Shuck is okay. I don't think it's a great opener. I also don't really like the reverb, metally, airy distance in the vocals. This album is one of my least favorite vocal mixes of anything they've got. I don't think it fits like the grittier, warmer production sound behind it. Solo and Get Your Hands Off My Woman is off the hook. The high vocals are fun, but sometimes it doesn't carry enough punch behind it to really get me over the top. Often feels like they are just like focusing too much on melody and vocals and not enough on the band behind, which is something that I was kind of talking. I think I kind of botched what I was trying to say about that with One Way Ticket, where I was talking about like this one has like less 80s fun, more 80s sounds. Sometimes the cursing and the tough guyness works for me, and sometimes it doesn't. I know they're making fun of like rock machismo. It's kind of hit or miss on for me in the album. Growing on Me, I think, is a really good song. Great like version of power pop. I Believe in a Thing Called Love is great. Love Is Only a Feeling is really good power ballad type. Nicely put right after their big hits. Love the sequencing. I like Giving Up. Struck in a Rut. Kiss My Ass. That doesn't really work for me. Friday Night Rules. Homage to The Cure. I feel that you're getting that Robert Smith thing again. I really like. I love the looseness of Love on the Rocks with no ice, and the solo there is so filthy. Side 3 will not be best solos, and we haven't done a best solos list since Van Halen, but this probably would have been a good one. And the solos throughout this catalog are great. There's never really a bad one. Holding My Own is really good. Like when they're playing loose on this album, I think it's really good, but like they can't on this album have the balance of the band sounding really good and the songs being like vocal and melody driven. Like there's not a lot of marriage of those two on this album. I like the closer with Making Out, reminding everyone who they are before they go home. I think that would have been a great opener, actually, just to be like, here we are, we're the darkness, boom. But I do think it's a good album, very close to 3.5. I just don't know if there's really a standout other than Believe in a Thing Called Love. And again, to me, it's just that disconnect on some of the songs are so like hook heavy and some of the playing shows off. I think they have albums where that marriage happens a little more, but it's a good album. 3 stars, Permission to Land. I won't hear any different.
You're going to have to hear a little different because that's incorrect.
Huh?
I thought this was a slam dunk trifecta. I thought we were going to have our 3rd trifecta in 4 weeks. My number 4 is Hotcakes from 2012. I believe in an interview or something, their drummer Ed Graham said that they felt like One Way Ticket to Hell and Back was a little overproduced. So this is kind of like a back to basics kind of record, but I think maybe they get a little too basic on this record. I think it loses a little something in stripping back a little. It kind of refocuses on riffage and kind of sounds like the tracks on Permission to Land that had a very heavy AC/DC influence. It's kind of like that stretched over the full record without the variety that Permission to Land brings. It still has its moments. Like Cram, a highlight for me is She Just a Girl, Eddie, which I think is really funny. And it was written directly about the drummer in the band, Eddie Graham. It's a reference to his ex-girlfriend. So that's kind of hilarious. I've got no problem with Street Spirit. I think it's an interesting arrangement and taking it and rocking it up a bit. I got no problem with it at all. I like Love Is Not the Answer. I think that's a pretty funny nod to Utopia's Love Is the Answer. I also think it's one of the stronger tracks on the record. I like most of the stuff here. I just don't find it super memorable, and I don't think there's enough in the production to really make the songs like come alive and stand out. It's really straight ahead, straightforward, kind of like AC/DC rockers throughout, but it's not bad. 3 stars.
I'm in agreement with Jason, very, very much so, on practically everything he said. I think Sweet Spirit is great. It's not as great as the original. I'm not insane, but I really love the chutzpah that they show, taking that and turning it into this, giant over the top concoction. I think the rest of the album is pretty good. I think it does, One Way Taken to Hell and Back went so far in like the opposite direction of Permission to Land. Like it almost had to be like, if they were going to come back, you kind of have to go back to basics. You really can't go further in kind of the weird direction that they went. But I agree with Jason. They came back a little too close to the AC/DC stuff. I do think Nothing's Gonna Stop Us, Keep Me Hanging On, Living Each Day Blind, She Just a Girl, Eddie, which is the best track. I agree with both of you on that. Very catchy. Like there's lots of catchiness here. But like other than She's Just a Girl, Eddie, I don't really like remember any of these songs that much after the fact. Like it's while you're listening to it, it tastes good. It's like a sugar rush. But then it's like gone and you just kind of forget about it and go about your day, other than She Just a Girl and Street Spirit. So I have it at 3.5 stars. I'd like to like it more, but it doesn't quite, have that sticking power that the first 2 albums had, for different reasons for the first 2. But this one just, it's good. Good comeback. They wouldn't really build from it, unfortunately, but 3.5 stars, so worth a listen.
Good analysis. I like you saying sugar rush. That's kind of how I feel about all these albums. Like they're not long lasting for me, but I really do enjoy a lot of them while I've got them. It would have been so cool if Radiohead responded and just did, I believe in a thing called Love, like all dark and moody with just like bleeps and bloops. That would have been the ultimate. All right, my number 3 is the album our fans have heard me talk most about. This is the only Darkness album I've talked about before this video, Motorheart. I've got it number 3. I've got it at 3.5 stars. I think it's really good. That has not changed. So it already looks like your 2 least favorite records are my 2 favorite records. And in general, I'm a little surprised for these lower ratings, like 3.5 stars at your number 4 pick. I thought you were more... You're more all about the debut and the follow-up than you are the Darkness as a whole, it seems like, Joe. Motorheart rules. Fun vibes right off the bat with Women Are Gorgeous and the food is okay. Very cool. Halfway there, you need good food. I love that. I love that line. Album kind of gets better and better, like as it goes on. Every song is a little bit better than the first. It's got everything. It's got fun, fury, catchiness. Love the epicness of the title track. Really grand and chugging with like a great tight little riff. Lots of fun. Lots of simple power pop 80s vibes on it. Not trying too hard, which I like. Jussie's Girl is a lot of fun. I wouldn't change a thing about it, except maybe Your Surname. Very catchy track that gets that 80 cheese spirit just right. Lyrics are cute and funny, personal with their sweet spot, like in the song Sticky Situations. I think this album might be the best representation of everything the Darkness does well, even though I don't think it's my favorite Darkness album. It's like kind of like their all-star album. I think it would be a good introductory album for someone. I think it's got a little bit of everything. Eastbound is really good lively crunch. Almost reminds me of like some old Hold Steady records there. Very joyous and bar rocking and good storytelling on it. Speed of the Nighttime, probably my favorite song on it. That awesome guitar sound that almost sounds like Flock of Seagulls, like new wave-ish. Very awesome. I think it's a good album with a few great songs on it. So it gets me up to 3.5, like Jussie's Girl, Eastbound, Speed of the Nighttime. Really dug all those songs a lot. And yeah, I remember, I don't remember why I listened to it. I didn't even join you guys when you reviewed it. And then I was like, I guess I will listen to it. And yeah, really liked it. 3.5 stars. Number 3, Motorheart.
All right, my number 3 is also Motorheart. For me, probably the closest they've come to capturing the feeling of the first 2 records since their reunion. And that's because I think that on this record, they're getting back to the early formula of basically like AC/DC playing power pop songs. It's kind of how I looked at it. I was glad to hear Cram acknowledge the power pop aspect of their sound, because I think that's really overlooked and they're really great at it. They write some great melodies, but all anybody ever talks about when they talk about the Darkness is AC/DC and Queen. But I think there's a lot more going on. It's a lot more interesting than that, especially when they're at their best. And I think you get a pretty good balance here. Jesse's Girl and Sticky Situations, Eastbound, all really fun, catchy tunes, and not really that hard rocking. And I think I said in the original review when we did it in December or whenever that was, that I liked those tracks a little later in the record. The front half is more straightforward hard rock. And I think when it loosens up and gets a little more melodic in the back half, I enjoy it a bit more. I also really like You Don't Have to Be Crazy About Me, but It Helps, which has this really cool kind of strutting groove that they've never really done before. It's kind of unique in their catalog. I think it's very cool. This one gets really close to 3.5 for me. Not quite getting there. I almost bumped it up from the original review on this time through. I think it's like a classic 3.25, but we don't do those, so 3 stars.
I'm at 3.5 already, Joe. You love me more. You love me more than him. All right.
I feel like he's gonna right now. Yes, Cramser's pulled ahead, but I feel like he's gonna probably pass you up with those top 2. It's not looking good for you. For me, Motorheart. I've sort of written off the Darkness. Like, I mean, you've seen my scores. I've talked about them for those comeback albums. But I didn't think they could pull something like this off. So I was very pleased. And it was, 4 stars. This was my top 15. I think it was an honorable mention for 2021. 4-star Motorheart. I think what they do here is it's not even like getting back to basics. Like, I think for the first time, like they've actually expanded their sound a little bit. It's still really in that 80s kind of wheelhouse. Like, it's still the big riffs, the squealing guitars, probably a little less Queen on this one. Definitely poppier. I think it's maybe, other than the debut, their catchiest yet. Jesse's Girl, Sticky Situations, Nobody Can See Me Cry, Motorheart, Power and Glory of Love. They're all really catchy. Motorheart even has like some almost like proggy elements, and Speed of the Nighttime, like very different for them, very 80s, very, Flock of Seagulls, I think is a good one. Kind of darker and just really synth heavy, layered, thick synth sound. And so I think for the first time, like they're actually expanding beyond like that hard rock, hair metal kind of style into some new territory. It's not too far outside what they've done. But I think it shows the way forward. I think having like a concept, even if it's as ridiculous as like a sex robot, which is what they're singing about, Motorheart, kind of helps them out, kind of keeps them in like the same, path, same track on the same road, so that they can really just concentrate on the songs and making them fun and catchy, not thinking too hard about it. It's a little ridiculous, but it's Darkness, so it's not really that much more ridiculous than anything else they've done. So I think it's a really good comeback. Really interested to see where they go from here. Very, very happy, very impressed with Motorheart from last year.
Yeah, I mean, I will for sure listen to probably the week of the next Darkness album that comes out, especially given what you said. Yeah, what they're expanding upon. Very cool. All right, my number 2 is going to be Easter is Canceled. 4 stars, baby. I think it's great. I've got a different admiration for the Darkness than you guys, but it's cool. I got the admiration which no one saw coming. everyone in the comments and on Patreon and stuff was like, he's gonna murder The Darkness. No, I think this is a great album, which means they got at least 2 great albums. Because we ain't even talking about number 1 yet, baby. Eastern is canceled. It does have less shimmer and it is a little bit muddier and uglier. And I think it kind of plays into it because they still have the lyrics with the humor and the fun, but it's like they're enjoying their like inhibitions as musicians a little bit more. And they're just kind of going to town. It's very cool. I love the opener. I really love the acoustic and like mandolin guitar sound in the beginning, the 80s like metal sound, full swing on the lead off. Very cool. And then the acoustic sound kind of returns with We Are the Guitar Men. Rock and Roll Deserves to Die. How Can I Lose Your Love is good, simple, and catchy. Sounds like, I think Jason was talking about it. It's kind of like that Foo Fighters vibe. Like to me, it sounds like, 2001, it could have been just a huge hit on a ton of soundtracks for like teen movies and stuff like that. Album has a really nice, lighthearted, feel-good feel that really gets it for me. Going into the third song, Live Till I Die, it's really nice feeling on this album so far. Heart Explodes is very good. I think they are at their best when they're being loose and campy and not trying too hard. So I think it's like a natural exploration for them to kind of do something like this when they kind of turn up the anger and the instruments a little bit more, and it comes over really nice. Deck Chair, you nailed it. Really cool, cute little song, and like the perfect kind of Freddie Mercury, like Conjuring, very cool. Title track comes in after that to lift everything up. Heat stays on with the fun heavy metal Lover, which may be a contender for Song of the Year for me in 2019. It is. I absolutely love the lyrics to this song. I think it's, you're so metal, you're practically rust. So it's so much fun. I love it. It's just the perfect tongue-in-cheek balance while being the smartest person in the room. I love it. In Another Life is really the only song I don't care for here, and it's not even really that bad. I think there's just a lot of really good songs, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this could go up from 4 stars even with some more listens. I really dug it. I really love Heavy Metal Lover. I've been listening to it a lot. I think it's awesome. I love it. Did I say I love it? I really love it. 4 stars. Easter's canceled. Number 2.
All right, we need to start submitting our scores to a separate party before recording.
Why?
I don't know if maybe you bumped those scores up a bit after Joe said I was going to overtake you in the final 2 spots, but
No.
my number 2 is One Way Ticket to Hell and Back from 2005. They, had a big breakout hit on the debut. So what do? You got all this clout now. You go get Roy Thomas Baker to produce your sophomore album. Talk about a power move. Get a lot more production finesse on this, if you will. You notice it right out of the gate with the pan flutes and the sitar and the acoustic guitar on the title track. But I don't think any of that stuff leads to the band losing any of their oomph. I think they still rock pretty hard on this record. I love the track Knockers. It really reminds me of You See Me Crying, where he's singing I Love What You Done With Your Hair. It's kind of sort of similar to the melody of Honey, What You Done to Your Hair in that track by Aerosmith. But whatever, though, I mean, you can definitely play like spot the influence. And there's moments where you hear something and it like clicks in your head, like, oh, that's a reference to this song. And I don't know, that's part of the fun of it for me. I think it's very cool. There's a really direct Def Leppard guitar homage on Is It Just Me? I love the chorus of Dinner Lady Arms, super catchy. I love the kind of Irish jig feel to Hazel Eyes. And they kind of take you on a tour of different rock styles. Like I said, you can spot the influence, but and it's not terribly original. But I think the writing is always pretty clever, and the hooks are usually really, really good. I think there's a few tracks on this record that don't hit quite as hard, like Seemed Like a Good Idea at the Time, Bald, and English Country Garden. For me, those are kind of weak links, where I don't think the debut really has those. So that's why it's coming in second. But aside from those couple tracks that don't quite land as well for me. I don't think it's that much of a step down from the debut. I think it's a really strong record. I think it's really fun. I think the production is cool. I mean, they've just literally like turned it up to 11. You've got all these other interesting sounds. The backing vocal production is really like full on Queen, just coming at you, just layers and layers and layers. And it's cool. I mean, you got to want that sort of thing, but for what it is, I think it's really cool and really well done. 3.5 stars.
Well, I was hoping you go to 4 there. I got One Way Ticket to Hell and Back, 4 stars, 2005. And I feel like I should love this more than I do. But, and all your points are taken. And I like the production in general. Roy Thomas Baker, obviously a legend. I mean, why not get the Queen guy to do the album that kind of sounds like the guy from Queen? But there's just something about it. It always kind of felt like they were throwing like the entire kitchen sink into it, and it just goes too far sometimes. Like do you need a sitar solo in One Way Ticket? Would it not have been better just to have like a kick-ass guitar solo? Do you need the pan flute? Do you need the bagpipes on Hazel Eyes? The mini Moog solo on Girlfriend? Like, I just feel like they could have just taken it back a tiny bit. Like, it feels like they're just trying too hard to be like extra and take it to 11. And I know, like, that's the point.
Who are you? Who are you right now? We're talking about The Darkness. You're arguing they need to tone it down. What is going on? This makes no sense to me.
Listen, the debut is great in spite of like all the guitar solos and everything. Like the riffs and everything just works so well for me. The humor and just the guitar and everything, like it just fits perfectly. And on this, like, they just try a little too hard to be cheeky, a little too hard to be over the top, a little too hard. It costs like £1 million to make this thing. Constant delays. Like, it was kind of a train wreck. And you can kind of hear it, because I just do think like they could have just toned it down a little bit, and it would have been a stronger album. Yeah, I know. Crazy that I'm saying these things. But I mean, that being said, it's 4 stars. One Way Ticket's great. Knockers is fantastic. Is It Just Me's guitar solo? It sounds like 15 guitars at once. It sounds like, a synthesizer. Basically, transforms into something that isn't even guitar at that point. Girlfriend, super catchy. English Country Garden, I love. So I think it's a very good album, very fun. It did sort of disappoint me a little bit when it came out, because I really did love the debut a ton. And I don't know. They just try a little too hard. I went from like 11 to like 10 and a half, maybe just a little bit.
All right. Let's address something serious that happened in this episode a few minutes ago. Jason, you questioned my integrity with my scores. Everyone out there, you'll never have to worry about that. Especially, I'm kissing up to Joe. I define myself by being the opposite of Joe. So what the hell do I care what? Okay. That leads me to my next point. My winner, obviously, is Last of Our Kind, and I have it at 4.5 stars. I think this album is great. It sounds like it's just like a new Def Leppard album to me. I think it runs like the pop metal gambit perfectly. It's their heaviest thing. The attitude and the swagger and the riffage on it is awesome. It's just a great, you guys, Joe's over here waving the Greta Van Fleet rock and roll is back flag. This album is way more rock and roll than anything they've ever done. It's awesome. And they keep their fun and their humor going. You get this easygoing, smiley metal sound on Barbarian. Very cool. You guys hit the nail on the head. How can you listen to 2 seconds of Open Fire and not be like, oh, that's The Cult? It sounds so cool, though. I love it. Title track is cool and has that big, steely, perfect acoustic, like 80s lick. It just kind of invokes all this like great 80s pop metal that I really like, and arguably even better than some of it. Like there's not a Warren album that's as good. Skid Row, White Lion, Kingdom Come, you name it. Like, this is great. Hawkins has some sweet licks in Roaring Waters. He's definitely the star of this album and the whole catalog, let's be honest. Great ride of an 80s, like, just pop metal album. It's kind of pretty and chugging with a song like Mighty Wings, great cool synth in the chorus. Mudslide has a cool lick and really cool when it cuts out for like that little acoustic part. Jason was right about Sarah Oh Sarah. I'll probably talk about that tomorrow. It's got cool like Celtic vibes and a great chorus. Really big, epic, and sweet and poppy. Hammer and Tongs, more simple like blues rocker, very catchy. Really great variety and just tempo and styles on this album, but it has this all-encompassing, just like pop metal. Like, to me, I'm just gonna keep saying Def Leppard, because you've got these hooks and melodies, but you've got just like this hard rock, big sweeping riffs coming in and out. Conquerors, I think, is a really good slower send-off. It's just really good, cheap, clean, great fun, like a sugar rush, like Joe said. It's like having the best dessert. Great, well-balanced 80s style big choruses and big rockers that all like bleed into one another in the songs perfectly. Very like Mutt Lange inspired production, I feel like. I love it. 4.5 stars. I think it's great. It's probably, what was this, 2015? Probably top 20 2015. It's one of my favorite findings in the channel so far. I'm not going to say it'll ever move up to 5 stars, but I'm not going to say it wouldn't. I thought it was great. I enjoyed this week specifically for this, and Easter is canceled.
The best Darkness record, without a doubt, is Permission to Land, 4 stars. All of their records are really fun, but I think this one couples that with the hunger and the energy of a young band. They're really going for the throat on it. The riffs are great. The hooks are really great. I don't know if Justin Hawkins ever sings quite as high as he does on this. I mean, he is way up there like the entire time, basically. So if you're not a fan of that and you don't like his voice and you don't like this kind of screechy falsetto, you're probably not going to like this record. You're probably not going to like the Darkness, but he really is going for it here. Black Shuck, I think, is their best take on AC/DC. Growing on Me, amazing power pop song, just really great melody. I Believe in a Thing Called Love is really over the top, super fun. Had a really cool music video as well. Love Is Only a Feeling, I think, is a really good power ballad type of song. Giving Up, I think, is a really catchy song talking about a heroin user. And then Friday Night, I think, is just fantastically catchy. And the whole time I was listening to it this week, I was thinking, man, who does he sound like on this? And then Cram already said it. Once it hit, I was like, oh my God, he's doing Robert Smith. It sounds exactly like Robert Smith. And then I went, Friday Night, it's a Friday I'm in Love reference. And that's why listening to The Darkness is so fun. Just great stuff like that. And I think this record has a really good balance of all the things that they do well. It's got kind of like Cheap Trick meets 80s Queen, plus like the heavier Sabbath-y, AC/DC type of stuff. Just all that great stuff, the power pop. I think sonically it sounds really good. I do think it's a little over compressed, but I think almost every record in the early 2000s was a little over compressed. It was really at the height of the so-called loudness war. So everything was just slammed and ready for radio. But I think overall it sounds good, and it's just a blast to listen to. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even fathom someone picking a different album than this for number one. Knock Me Over with a Feather, Cramser. For me, this one is just so like you can't replicate it because it is the sound of a band that probably doesn't quite know what they're doing yet. Like, I feel like everything after this is sort of like trying to fit back into the mold that they established. And maybe that is the mold of the band. But this one is just like so it's like unconscious that they made it. And it just has all this great, throwbacks to old stuff, to the AC/DC. The riffs are incredible. I think they're as good as like an AC/DC riff. I don't think they're like play acting at any of this. Justin Hawkins, obviously can have that ridiculous falsetto. I think the combination of that works perfectly. I think the guitar solos are all excellent. I think the album itself is just unfussy. Like, I feel like the biggest problem with One Way Ticket is it's just so fussy and kind of overdone. And this one is just like, they rip through the whole thing. It's pretty much just, you know, guitar. There's a little piano, a little synth, but I think it's just like really basic, stripped down, powerful rock and roll that just happens to be very funny because Justin Hawkins is a really funny writer, very good guitarist. And it's just, you know, it's just one of those things that just happened and you can never go back to that. And I think that's always why it's going to be number one. It's something that even if you tried to do again, you just never get that magic lightning in the bottle that you do with this one. I love it. I think it's 5 stars. It was my runner-up in 2003. And it's just, you know, one of those kind of perfect albums. It's only 38 minutes long. Like, they don't overstuff it. It just rips right through it. Making Out's not even on the album. It's a bonus cut. So, you know, it's just 10 songs and that's it. It's what you get. I think it's pretty much perfect for 2000. I'm kind of shocked. You know, it was needed in that time. There was not enough of that sort of over the top rock and roll. The retro thing had come back, but you know, you had the Strokes and the Hives, and it was kind of a different thing. This kind of brought back like the screaming guitar solo, the over the top glam metal vocals. So definitely needed in 2003. I loved every second of it when I heard it. I could not get enough. And I think it still, you know, stands up to this day, even with me going back and, you know, I didn't know all the Queen or the AC/DC or the Def Leppard albums back then. I knew the hits and everything, but even going back and listening to all those discographies, I still think this holds up with the riffs and everything. So 5 stars for me, the best Darkness album, hands down, no questions asked. And yeah, you can just mute Kramzer for the rest of the show because I don't want him to have a rebuttal. But I can't believe he liked the Darkness enough to give a 4 and a 4.5. That's crazy. Call up Justin right now. Tell him. I don't even think Justin Hawkins give those albums that high score.
Kind of the difference in preference of how you like your Mutt Lange. You guys want it more AC/DC. I want it more Def Leppard. I might like the Darkness more than Joe. I mean, if you get rid of Permission to Land, my scores are kind of.
This has been a very shocking episode for all of us, I feel like.
I knew Permission to Land was going to be both your number ones. I didn't think that you were going to have Last of Our Kind and Easter Canceled down at the very bottom, especially Joe, because they're like heavier sounding albums. So that really shocked me.
I don't think they're heavier than the debut.
I do.
I think for people watching, I think the big shock is going to be not about the specifics, but just the fact that all 3 of us will get behind the Darkness and say we like them. And
They're a Hall of Fame band. They're a TLM Hall of Fame band. Not Billy Joel or U2 or Bob Dylan, but the Darkness are in, baby. They're in.
I'm not saying no to that. I'm not saying no.
you know, if you're not aware of what Kram is talking about, stay tuned. We will reveal more about what that's about in the future. But thanks for watching, everybody. If you are watching this on the day we released the video, it is now February, which makes it a great time to sign up for Patreon. Also, make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet. We are also coming up on 8,000 subscribers on YouTube. So help us get there. Give us that little push we need. Might be able to hit that this week. And aside from all that, we got merch. We got a website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's all in the video description. Check it out. And let us know what you think of the Darkness down in the comments. We'll be down there with you. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.